Well, hi everybody. um, our next speaker here needs no introduction. Chris told me to do that. I got to give credit to him. No, this is humor and caricature with Allie Thome, Allie R. Thome.
Okay.
She's been doing caricatures since 2009. Worked at some theme parks. Spent some time on the board of ISCA. Won a bunch of awards here. Best humor. Made it up on the top 10 a couple times. What else?
The
Did I get
chickens.
it all? But yeah, I think what we're all here to hear about is the chickens. She has 8 chickens. They live in her backyard. 4 of them are golden comets. They're the golden girls. One is named Razorbeak. All right, that's not funny anymore. Okay, yeah. Allie R. Thome, everybody.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to be talking to you guys about humor. It's something that I've been told that I'm decent at, so I felt like I would just keep going with that and impart my wisdom on you today. I titled it "It's Supposed to Be Funny" for anybody who used to listen to my podcast. Yeah, thank you. I got as retail artists, we have to say that a lot. It's supposed to be funny, you know, to the people who are like, "What did you?" Don't worry about it. It's supposed to be funny. It's like a cat. It's a great catchphrase. So yeah. So what I'm gonna be doing is going through humor. We're gonna do some examples, go through a little bit of history, and I'm gonna start reading from my script so I don't ramble too much, because I will. All right. So let's start. So in first grade, we're gonna go all the way back, guys, all the way. I was exploring my attic and I came across a Garfield comic. I loved Garfield books, filled with all the newspaper ones, just the compilations that you could buy at Borders, that store that doesn't exist anymore. And I would read them by nightlight because I didn't understand the humor and I thought it was like really adult, so I wasn't allowed to read it. So I would read it by nightlight and then hide them underneath my pillow. And then it wasn't until an embarrassingly long amount of time later that I realized that Garfield was fine and I was allowed to read it. And my parents encouraged it. So they ended up buying me like all the compilations throughout my entire childhood and into adulthood. And it just became like the thing that I bonded to. And I just loved reading them. I even tried to do a book report in elementary school and I had to fight for that because they're like, comics aren't writing. And I'm like, yes, they are. They're like, okay, if you can find a bio. And then in the back of the bio, there was like 2 paragraphs worth of bio on Jim Davis, and they let me do it. It wasn't until even later that I found out that Garfield isn't that funny and he doesn't age well. But it's about the inspiration, right? We're all inspired by different things. And then in college, I started drawing my own comics. I got really into Explasm, XKCD, the really simple like stick figure comics. And I just loved drawing my own and I would share them with my college friends. I would draw them for my friends and like they would keep encouraging me to do that because they were slightly funny, or they would tell me they're not funny and I'd try again. And it was just all trial and error. Like, how do I tell a story? How do I make it funny? And keep working to get better punchlines and make better comics. And all of that experience with comics, going up to childhood and everything, that desire to want to read comics and learn about humor and love comedians, really inspired my work once I got into the caricature world and then into my current job that I have today. That is also, aside from comics, but caricature, but so once I got out of college and stuff, I started working as a caricature artist, but I've had the opportunity to draw comics for Blind Ferret. Some of you might recognize some of these comics I'm going to share again today. These comics I put up on Maybe It's a Parent. They're my parenting comics. I really love doing those. Kids write themselves. You barely have to write any punchlines. And then this is my current job. I work for a YouTube channel called Extra Credits, where I get to use all that visual humor that I've learned to to visually storytell these little history snippets. Sometimes I get to do game theory snippets, do the promo vids, and it's been really fun. It's a really good combination of all of my skills. And then, of course, my 10-year career as a caricature artist, starting at Hershey Park, working in ISCA, doing illustrations for myself. It's been great. It couldn't be a more fun job. You know, I got to meet all you guys, so it's just even better. But I want to start off with, so that's just a brief intro to me personally, but let's start off with the nitty gritty and do a quick history of humor theory. Now, this does get pretty interesting. It also might be a little dry, so I will go through it fairly quickly. So it started out with the superiority theory. Sorry, I ran. I'm going to start with my, I'm sorry. I'm going to start with my script. Okay. So toga-clad philosophers were some of the first to ponder the idea of laughter and humor, but they came to the conclusion that laughter was not a positive thing. In Plato's Philebus, he discussed the enjoyment of comedy as something malicious. Taken generally, the ridiculous is a certain kind of evil, specifically a vice, and that vice is self-ignorance. The people we laugh at imagine themselves to be wealthier, better looking, or more virtuous than they really are. In laughing at them, we take delight in something evil, their self-ignorance, and that malice is morally objectionable. And this idea became known as the superiority theory. And in ancient books such as the Iliad, the Odyssey, and the Bible, gods were depicted as laughing derisively at people below. And the strong taking pleasure in the suffering of the weak or less fortunate, Schadenfreude, if you will. And for centuries, that type of humor was socially viewed as something negative. And then starting around the 1700s till about the 1900s, a new theory was posited about why we laugh. And that theory is the relief theory, or the, oh, okay, they're fine theory. In 1905, master of repressive feelings, Sigmund Freud, in his Jokes in Their Relation to the Unconscious, theorized that any superfluous energy, whether it be, I skipped ahead, hold on, I'm just gonna finish this. Whether it be energy to think, the energy to feel emotion, or unsurprisingly, the energy to repress emotion, the excess would then come out as laughter to relieve that energy. In his example is a story told by Mark Twain in which his brother was building a road when a charge of dynamite went off prematurely, blowing him high in the sky. When the poor man came down far from the work site, he was docked half a day's pay for being absent from his place of employment. We have many worrying emotions when we hear that his brother was blown up with dynamite and shot into the sky. But when we hear that he was docked half a day's pay, we subconsciously are made aware of that he's fine. And then that release of that relief is laughter. Hence the joke. And more recently, think about America's Funniest Home Videos or failed compilations on YouTube. These videos are largely funny because we are caught in the suspense of watching people do normal or dangerous things and are met with a moment of, are they all right? And in the end, they usually are. But if the video cuts off and we don't know if they're okay, many of us are stuck in the repressed energy stage and either can't laugh or don't know if we're supposed to laugh. And it's like, and then that's it. There's nowhere to go from there. And then we come to our most recent theory of humor, the incongruity theory, which is the, wow, I didn't expect that theory. It's the most dominant theory of humor. We can boil this down to I didn't expect it. To create an expectation and then violate it, the setup and the punchline. Immanuel Kant likened this idea of humor to playing games or listening to music. The enjoyment comes from the changing free play of sensations, which is caused by shifting ideas in the mind, the play of thought. So let's take this more recent idea and let's look at some examples, because that's way more fun than just looking at slides of old people and me talking about them. All right, so these jokes come from Bored Panda. They're not mine. I'm not that funny on paper. So this one starts out, I threw a boomerang a few years ago. So we take a look at the expectation of the joke. Boomerangs go and they come back. And a few years ago kind of suggests, maybe he played with it as a kid, he tossed a boomerang around. Isn't that a great story? But there's a second part to this. I now live in constant fear, which changes the meaning of the first part. He threw it, it never came back. But when is it coming back? If he never saw it, he lives in constant fear. The setup and the punchline. Create the expectation and then break it. My grandfather has the heart of a lion, which is a very heartwarming phrase, talking about your grandparents. Like, man, what a courageous guy. He has the heart of a lion. He must have saved tons of people, helped out the community. Isn't he great? And a lifetime ban at the zoo. Totally changes how we see grandpa, doesn't it? He no longer is a courageous man. He is now banned from the zoo for obvious reasons. Okay, let's do some more examples that I did that I can take credit for. So I'm going to start off with some, am I going to start off with comics? Yes, I'm going to start out with comics because examples are fun. So let's take a look at these three guys. They're happy little triangle people. Just having a good time. Let's put them in some sticky situations and see what happens. Now, all of the comics, I'm going to put up four panel comics. Each one is going to start out the same. And then we're going to explore each different example and how the meaning changes by how we change how the triangles are reacting to the different situations. So they're all going to start off like this. Two triangles yelling stop to the purple triangle. He's going to fall down a hole. Nobody wants that. You're going to get hurt, purple triangle, dude. Oh no, he fell down. That's so sad. Is he going to be okay? I don't know. And then we hear a sploosh and a crack. I don't think they're okay. It's not a great, super funny joke because it does everything that you probably expected. Now, because it's a comic, you might think, oh, well, he's probably fine at the end. But it's because I left it kind of oblivious. It's not oblivious. Oblivious isn't the right word. The one where you're not quite sure which outcome it is. What? Ambivalent. Ambiguous. Thank you, everybody. I'm good with pictures, not words. We don't know if it's funny or not because like he could be seriously hurt. Do we want to laugh at that? I don't know. But also like because you think it's supposed to be funny and it's not at the end, that's kind of funny. So it subverts your expectations in kind of a meta way. Stop. Oh no, he fell down, but here we know that he hit the bottom. Splorsh. I'm fine. Wait. Nope, still fine. So it gives us that moment of, is he okay? He's okay. Is he okay? Oh, okay, he's fine. So it does a little bit of both. It brings you up and down on your expectations. Stop. Oh, he didn't fall in. What's going on? What is going on? Oh, it was a joke the whole time. Okay, last one. Stop. Oh, he stops this time. Isn't that great? Everybody's fine. Nobody's going to get hurt. Oh, secret alien. Oh, look at that. Now, the alien joke doesn't work if you don't set it up ahead of time, but you have to be subtle so that it's still a surprise. So in the third panel, you can see the orange one's cracked up a little bit, and then you can throw in the alien joke. You can't just like throw it in or else it's confusing. And if you're confusing your audience, you're not making them laugh. They're thinking about why it's confusing. So they have to also see it coming. It's kind of like with a good murder mystery. You have to be able to put the pieces along with the main character. Because if you're not doing that, it's not fun. You have to see the pieces. So you got to show the pieces. So you set up, he stops, but then something ridiculous happens. So that's a really fun way to go. So here's some of my 4-panel comics I do for my parenting Instagram account. So here we have Babytown, and we have a nice little cityscape. It looks like the cityscape is having a little bit of either plumbing or maybe there's an earthquake or something. Oh no, it's an eruption of some brown liquid. Now we get to this panel and we're already a little suspicious because I did name it Baby Town. So you think maybe something's up, but I'm showing a town. So how can it? Oh, it was a baby poop explosion the whole time. So it was a metaphor. And that's a real question. How does it get all the way up there? The force, it's the force. Think about, while you're at your seats, think about how the reaction would be different, how you would read it differently if the mom's reaction at the end was neutral, if it was disgust. Like how would it read if she looked angry? Like then it's not a funny comic anymore, now it's just sad. Then you're like, what's gonna happen to the baby? If it's neutral, then it's like, oh, she's been through this before, even though this crazy thing happened. Neutral face, it's like, you can feel the kind of desperation, but also the giving up. So it's funny to like how these three panels can stay the same and how the last panel you change it just a little bit and it changes the whole meaning of the comic. This is a fun one. Jordan, just ready to be done and relax. I mean, anonymous dad, number 1. Anonymous baby, number 1. I need my bunny blanket, already covered in blankets. Oh, so you think there's that moment of levity. The child understands your plight. Maybe they'll be relenting. It'll be okay, Daddy. You just need to get my blanket. So you get to watch this person have the expectation of like, oh, you know what? Everything's going to be okay. I'm tired. The baby understands. Baby does not understand. Baby just wants her blanket, and she's made it perfectly clear. But she also subverts your expectation because she seems like she's going to be understanding, but of course they're not. All right, but Allie, I don't draw comics. So what can I give to you, those of you that don't draw comics? I do encourage you to draw comics though. If you are interested in humor, it's a really great way. Just draw your life stuff if you just want to try and be funny. Just draw like a quick stick figure comic of like something you heard or an interaction you had. It's a really fun way to like diary your life, but also like to work out jokes. If you actually want to tell jokes, I encourage you to draw comics. But if you don't want to, let's talk about some single panel illustration comics and how you can infuse more humor into them and think about them in a way that'll make them more silly or more engaging to the audience that you're targeting. This is one I did. He plays Mario, and the guy loved it because he plays Mario. So like he's on top of one of the villains. Mario is just like, excuse me, because he can't touch those things, he'll die. But there he is riding it. It's a lot of levels. See, isn't it fun explaining humor and jokes, guys? It's so much fun. All right, so we're going to take a look at this lollipop. Let's think about it. I want everybody to picture a lollipop in their mind. What does it look like? How do you hold it? How do you eat it? What do you picture in your head when you think of that? A nice close look at that lollipop. Even closer. Picture it. Oh, wait, hold on. That was too close. Perfect. Classic. All right. So in your head, you have this picture of what a person looks like eating a lollipop, right? There's a standard way to do it. There's a normal way to do it. A way that you would draw if somebody came to you from an advertising firm, hey, we sell lollipops. We want a nice drawing of guy licking a lollipop. This is what you would draw. But let's make it sillier. He's too into the lollipop. You showed this to the ad agency, they'd be like, we don't sell those kind of lollipops. So like, that's not a normal way to eat it. You see somebody licking it like that on the sidewalk, you'd probably walk to the other side of the sidewalk. Let's get even weirder. It's sillier, it's extreme. Nobody can balance on a lollipop like that. Now we're getting into like physics don't apply. This isn't even possible, which makes it even sillier because nobody can actually do this unless he's doing it at a sculpture somewhere in a park. And then that's gross. He should have sanitized it first. And then he's not even eating it now. He's just dragging it along like his pet. And now we've crossed over into the absurd. So you take the idea of what it looks like to eat a lollipop, and here we've taken it all the way to he's not even eating the lollipop. So what kind of humor are you going for? Are you going for like something really relatable? Are you trying to shock your audience? This would be a way to shock them. Like that's not, he's not even holding it. What am I supposed to do with this? And it's dirty. I'm not going to eat it. Okay. Here's another example of like taking something serious and making it silly. So I like to do these draw this in your style challenges on Instagram. And I follow this horror illustrator called Pitch Canker. And he did this one with a skull, birds, blood, really serious, really gory. Super fun. I love it. So then I did my own take. I'm like, how can I make this me? And we gave it a story. We gave it more meaning. So like, so we don't have all the information in the first one. Where do the birds come from? Why are they dripping? What's happening? Is that a blood coat or is that his body? What's going on? So I gave it a story. So I took the expectations of like, it's horror, it's supposed to be gross, and I turned it into something silly. Now the skull guy is squeezing the birds. He's having a great time. Because why would you not in that situation? But you also have the play on the expectation of the horror that is happening in the first one. So like horror is supposed to be serious for the most part. It's got very macabre feeling to it. You have certain emotions when you experience like something that's supposed to be kind of dark art. And then when you take it and add silly elements, now you have that play of ideas where like you expect it to be dark and like serious, but now it's not. So then your brain does a little flip flop in your head and you're like, oh, that's pretty silly. Like that doesn't make me scared, but I like the stuff in it. That's funny. I told you it's funny. All right. Oh, that's from my horror account, Sleepy Hag, if anybody wants to follow. Okay, so on to the next example. So now I want to introduce the idea of like, so we talked about expectations, but you also have to understand context. And this is really important if you do retail. Your audience has to understand your references. If they don't understand your references, it's not going to be funny. So in order for these next images to make sense, I have to explain what they're about, or else they won't be even remotely funny to you. So I'm going to explain this game quick. This game is called Death Stranding. I got really into it. It's basically a long hike with like these weird monsters that you have to avoid, and you have to carry tons of cargo. And that's your basic premise. So like you have to avoid monsters while carrying ungodly amounts of cargo that no human should be able to carry. And while you're carrying it, if you lose your balance, even if you're running away from monsters, it's really silly because he like tilts and then he does those little side steps. But while you're being chased by monsters, it's incredibly silly, and that's why I loved it. So I did a couple of drawings for it because I just wanted to do some fan art. I got really into it. So this is just a basic, like, it's not really funny. It's just kind of sweet. Like it's just the character holding the baby inside this vat, which is part of the game. And he's thanking the baby with like, it's a little silly because it gives a little thumbs up in the back, which the arm does in the game. And it's just sweet. It's just nice. There's nothing really super funny about it. It doesn't subvert any expectations. It's not really calling back to anything crazy. It's just nice. But I wanted to push it further. I wanted to be funnier. So in the game, he's naked. There's a lot of naked scenes with him. It's also part of the draw. And so you have him looking very serious, but he's also very naked. And he understands he's naked. He's covering his private area so that I could post it on Instagram without any problems. But like, it's a little bit sillier because now you have his nudity, you have like him covering it, you have him being aware that he's naked where he's not in the game. So we're pushing it just a little bit further. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, just get that out. There's too much of it. I'm sorry. All right, this last one, I actually tried to be actually funny because the other two I was going for like likeness, I was going for like a good body composition. This one I was trying to do the joke. So one of the quests in the game is to deliver a pizza. Now you're in this apocalyptic wasteland, and you're taking your character to deliver a pizza, and you have to make sure it doesn't like topple over or else you lose the mission. So I took it a step further. He's carrying Monster. It's dripping. He has the pizzas on the side. He's stacked all the way up with ranch and boxes. So I took the idea of that mission and I took it to its sillier degree, which like he's stacked up with, as a delivery person would be, with tons of ranch and things for a party, Pepsi in the back. And he's really working hard to carry it because, I mean, you got to make deliveries. So it's just taking the game, taking the elements of the game and pushing it past what the game gave me to make it sillier. This is we're getting into an ISCA piece I did. So this is one of my ISCA pieces. Taking the idea, this is an idea collab with me and Manny. Manny helped out with this idea. We decided to do a 300 homage where I push everybody at ISCA off a cliff into a pile at the bottom. So that's me at the tippy top, pushing everybody. And what made this super fun is not only, you know, the caricatures in it, but also their silhouette, which shout out to all the silhouette artists out there. That job is hard. Like you can tell who most of these people are if you've seen them. But it was a really fun piece, but I got to play off of the seriousness of 300, the sadness of like all these people dying. And I took it with my friends and I pushed them all off a cliff. And my best elements that I added that made me laugh the most. So here's some close-ups. This was the year that Grigor Eftimov was there. So I have his eyes popped out and I just wrote Grigor, but I spelled his name wrong and I did it on purpose because I thought it was funny. And I have an arrow to it. And then best friend Joe Bloom is all the way at the bottom. There's his glasses. So like I could have just left it as a picture, but I decided to label it because I thought it made me giggle. And sometimes if it makes you giggle, you should just do it. So let's get into retail because I think that's where most of you can apply a lot of this stuff and try it out. This is a commission I did, which it's a straight commission, except for the little girl in the corner. She did not want to stand still. And they did give me a nice version of her, but I didn't use it. I used the one where she was trying to get away. And I thought that that was very funny. And even though they weren't expecting it, because they were expecting something nice, everybody's looking nice, forward and smiling and stuff, I drew her trying to get away. Because like that to me feels like a normal picture. And like we draw from pictures, but they expect it to be perfect. Like this perfect scene where everybody's facing forward, everybody's smiling the way that they like. So when you subvert that expectation and you draw somebody being normal, it's funnier. Now you also have to hope that you have the right family that'll be able to take that. Not all families are as nice as this one, and maybe this would get sent back with a different family, but this family loved it. They're like, that is so her. So it was worth the risk. Going to live caricature, I'm going to talk about, just do a couple of examples of like your basic side-by-side caricature couple. This is generally the way you see it, generally the way it's the fastest to be done. There's nothing wrong with that. I've done these myself. If I have time or I can go fast enough, I do like to change it up because it's more fun for me. I think it's more fun for the clients to have something that they don't expect, because this is what they expect. They expect nice side by side. And when you give them something that's more personal, something that has more of what they can connect to, you know, we talk about references, things that you work on together, I think they enjoy it even more. So if you have like best friends, I like to add huggy arms, and most of these ideas come from Kirby. He's the one, I feel like he pioneered this like totem pole idea, and a lot of people just ran with it, and me included, and I just love it. Like they're not next to each other, one on top of the other. It's a nice, like, it feels like a candid photo. And I think that's what I like most about it. So they don't expect a candid photo, they expect nice side by side, but you're giving them something that's more real in a weird way. And I like the little hands on the forehead because she does have a big forehead. So kind of also compositionally makes up for that space. Tiny arms, I love adding arms. They don't expect arms to be in there. And then when you add them, little peace signs, little thumbs up, maybe if they're holding a beer, it's a great way to make it personal, make it so they can connect to it, but it also makes it sillier. It adds that element of the now that they love and they didn't expect. Like, oh, you threw in my necklace. Oh, you threw in my whatever. Body situations. There's lots of standard ways to do bodies. There's lots of really easy ways to do bodies. The standard soccer kid. I'm sure we've all seen the soccer kid. The soccer kid's great. This is a great, just nice way to do it. It's fast, it's easy, it's nice. There's no story, he's just kicking it. He's having a great day. Now we get more exaggerated. You know, where we talked about breaking physics. Like, kids don't usually bend this way, especially little kids when they're playing soccer. Also, where's he kicking it? Does he know there's a guy behind him? Maybe. Is he flying through the air? Is he just that good? So we took it up a notch. We put physics out the window. We took it up. He's kicking it behind him. Where's it going? Who knows? And then you could take it one step further. He bounces it off his head. Nice, subtle humor that you can add real fast to just make it funnier. And most parents love it, unless you get like the not fun parents. Here's another double body situation. So I just drew those off, but these are now getting into my live stuff. So this is how I used to start doing mermaids. I still do them that way if I'm trying to go fast or like I'm doing little kids. Just have them sitting next to each other, nice on a rock. It's just nice. But let's take it a step further. Let's subvert the expectations of the couple. Let's throw in some of the dynamic that I saw while they were together. So while they were together, it was clear that like the mom loved her, but like she was also like trying to get her to like be a little bit less of a teenager, maybe. I think she was wearing a crop top at the time. So they had this like cute little interplay where like they did care about each other, but she was definitely trying to be a parent. And so I did this with the body. So it's still classy. Everything's covered. So like I can do it in a family friendly environment, but you get to see more of their personality. So instead of the side by side, you take it a step further, you add more story, and you get something sillier and funnier. And funny enough, this takes only a couple more minutes. Like if you have the time, I say go for it. Another pretty easy one, superheroes. This couple was really fun. You take that idea and you add some power dynamics, you add the relationship dynamics, and you get something really fun. And I forget who mentioned to put Niagara Falls in the background, but I did it because they mentioned it, and it blew them over. It made them laugh so hard. And I think when it comes to like, especially humor and caricature, if you really want to add more humor, you need to talk to your clients while you're doing retail. If you're not talking to them, you're not going to add anything that they think is funny. It's also okay to not talk to them and just add in random stuff and hope for the best. Like one time, maybe I'll tell the story. I'll tell the story later. Oh, I can tell it here. Collaborate. So on that same idea, me and Chris Chua a couple of times have done collabs, and they're always so fun. We don't usually ask the people. We always ask what they like, but sometimes they don't give us much. I remember one time me and him decided to do face off. So I drew her as a peach and he got a Nicolas Cage on his belly. And then we come to find out when the drawing's almost done, they've never even seen the movie. So like they have no idea what any of these references are. So they looked at it and they were like, oh, okay, that's nice. But it's important to like, if you want the client to really love it, make sure it has stuff that they know. But we thought it was really funny, so it's still fun for us. And we had a good time, and I think they picked up on that. So here's a collaboration. Me and Kelly O'Brien, when I was down in Santa Cruz, they loved Pokemon, so we went with that. So she did the top one, I did the bottom one. It's really great to work with somebody if you have the chance to play off of the ideas that the other person has. They're like, they come up with the idea, oh, hey, what Pokemon do you like? So then we get to throw in Pokemon they like, their favorite ones. And then like, I got to do Jigglypuff, and I know Jigglypuff draws on faces. So I went for it because I knew they loved Pokemon. So I got away with a lot in that drawing where they expect to sit down and have a nice side by side. And then they get this. And they were laughing their butts off because we made it so personal. And it was a great collaboration of humor between the two of us. This was another one. They said they loved candy, and we just rolled with it. This was me and Dave Hargrove. He came up with the Swedish fish and the Swedish flag eyes jumping out of, and then we added Peppermint Butler because we both loved Adventure Time, Slide, and it's just fun. It's just so silly. Like they're in a candy kingdom. They get a chance to be in a candy kingdom. That's funny. This is another me and Chris Chua. This is one of my favorites. I don't remember. Did they like Alien? Did we talk about that? Where is he? Oh, right. Okay, so this is another one where we just went for it. Yeah. And we added tons of elements that, like, you know, we added Evil Dead in the bottom, more aliens. But we made it like cute because they were a couple. So we did the hearts instead of the blood. I don't remember if they liked it or not, but we had a lot of fun doing this one. Because we were laughing like the whole time. Every time we added something, it was fun. Because we kept coming up with new stuff to add, and it was just a good time. So, I mean, this brings me to extra credits. I do highly recommend watching it if you like history at all. It's like 10-minute snippets. But I loved working with extra credits because it comes back to that collaboration aspect. If you ever get to work with a group or you're in a group type situation, even if you're not working together on the same project, utilize that group. Especially this week, like you're around a ton of different artists. If you want your stuff to be funnier, show it to somebody. Brainstorm ideas like, hey, I have this idea of like this person on a swimming pool. And I did say on a swimming pool, so already I have questions. And then you work out that idea with somebody else. Like, oh, I don't think that's funny. Why don't you add like a little ducky inflatable? Oh, that's not funny enough. Why don't you have no pool at all and put the ducky inflatable on them? And then you can just keep going until you're both laughing and you have a great idea. That's the funnest part of ISCA is just that collaboration. So with my job, you know, somebody writes the jokes, somebody voices the jokes, and then I get to draw the jokes. So like that's 3 levels of collaboration where like I can either expand on the joke or maybe they didn't like it and they didn't get my reference. I got to go back. I got to fix it. Doing humor is all about revision, getting ideas from other people, working it out, trying again. And again, if you're working with somebody else, that's even better because you have somebody to work off of. You can show them, be like, look what I just did. And they're like, oh yeah. And then you can start that, like, because humor doesn't happen in a space, like it happens with everybody. It's best as a collaboration. It takes constantly working on your craft and going on stage over and over again so that you get comfortable enough to keep doing newer and more challenging projects. Patton Oswalt. So yeah, I really encourage everybody this week to think about the work that they're doing. If you want to infuse more humor, think about what part of it you want to be funny, what kind of jokes you want to tell. If you have a good setup, maybe ask somebody else to help you out with a punchline. Like, how can I punch this up? How can I make this surprising? How can I make this more personal? How can I make this joke maybe just for me? Like, do I know this person? Let me go talk to them. Let me have a conversation and see what about them I can infuse into the drawing or what they did this week that everybody can relate to so that it becomes more humorous. Yeah, I guess that's it. So I'm really looking forward to this week with you guys. It's going to be fun. Yeah, thank you. Oh, apparently it wasn't done. I think I asked all these questions though. This is just an overview. So what can I do to this picture to exaggerate or surpass expectations? Always try the idea a few different ways. That's important. Always draw it a couple of times because like if you're going to get, it's going to be good on the 3rd try. Unless you got it right the first time, which, you know. Is this funny? If you're not laughing at it, it's not funny. And show your ideas to someone you trust and get feedback. I basically said all those things, but I forgot there was more to my slide, so I apologize. And be flexible and adjust. This is my don't create in a vacuum joke. Because it's dirty in there, get it? You can't draw in a vacuum, it's dirty. All right, now I'm done, that's it. See, you you all thought I was done and I subverted your expectations and kept going. You see how I did that? Yeah. Like Kristen Shaw's a horse thing until it's not funny and then it becomes funny again. Yeah. All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. Does anybody have any questions? Still on. I'm coming. I'm bringing the mic back.
Time happened to my podcast.
What was it? Oh, that was what happened to the podcast. Hold on, Ben.
Can you make that into a sticker, please?
Yes, for you, Sam Gorey, I will. Yes.
Okay, Ben. Here.
Do you want your face in it? Okay.
Is
perfect.
your podcast still up and available anywhere?
I have all of my episodes, but they are not up anywhere that I know about. I did hear like 2 ISCAs ago, some kids were listening to my podcast on some platform. I don't know how they got there, but they're there. I don't remember which platform it was, but I do want to make them available at some point. It's been a time issue where I haven't been thinking about it, but I do still have them. So they exist. Don't worry, they exist. And it's a nice little like slice of it's like caricature history. They're a lot of fun. Maybe someday, who knows?
Could you give a couple of descriptions on that history show that you work on? Like, what are some of the episodes about? And,
Oh yeah. The most recent one, I'm pretty sure it's coming out now, is Conquest of India. It's about how the British colonized India. It's very interesting because it's supposed to be a historical paradox. Historians don't know why it happened. It shouldn't have happened, but it did. So it's a whole series about that. I did Vlad the Impaler. I did the Boston Massacre, Majapahit, the Pacific Islands, the exploration of the Pacific Islands, which they talk about how they navigate and stuff. It's very interesting. Sun Yat-sen, which is all about the revolution in China in the 1900s. I think there's another one in there. Anyway, you can go look at them. My name's at the end of the episode, so if you see my name, I did it. Yeah. But Vlad the Impaler was probably my favorite. There was a lot of impaling. And a couple of marshmallow jokes. So that was fun. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes? Oh, real question.
I missed the beginning of your thing, so if you already talked about this, I'm really sorry. But who are some of your favorite caricaturists out there that you think are the funniest? Like, who's to watch?
Who's to watch? Oh, goodness gracious. I've been not as into the caricature community as I have liked, but some of my favorite retail caricature artists I draw a lot of inspiration from has been like Maya Dow, Kiko, let's see, Kirby does some really silly stuff. Chris has been really fun to draw with. Eric, and Aaron and Sammy, Aaron Philby and Sammy Yun. They're, oh my gosh, funny every single time. Retail wise, I think those are my biggest inspirations, but also there's a lot of people I haven't seen because I haven't been like in the community that much. So I'm sure there's a lot of people I'm going to see this week that I'm like, this is amazing. I was sitting next to Betsy Bleed and I was in her book and she had like these frogs. I'm so excited to see her work this week. So I think there's gonna be a lot of silly stuff and I'm really excited. Yes.
Hold on, Dave.
What would you do?
Hold on, Dave.
I'm sorry.
Gotta make sure everybody watches.
Valerie, what would your recommendation be if you're trying to be funny and you wound up making the child that you thought was going to be funny to you, but it made them sad and they wanted to kill you because of that? What's your recommendation on how to deal with that?
You know, I have made kids sad. My favorite story is about a teenager who had some acne, and I did play up the acne because I was young as a caricature artist, and I'm like, well, that's what you're supposed to do. And I showed it to him and he got real sad. He didn't want to hurt me or anything, so I don't relate to that. But that's just something like I don't know. I didn't deal with it. I just was like, here you go. And he was just sad and they paid for it and left. And And my lesson there was like, if I have a huge hunch that I'm going to touch on something touchy, I try not to push it too hard. That's my personal stance. I don't want to tell anybody else how to do anything else, because like, you deal with what you want to do. If you want to make everybody angry, then like go for it. But as long as I'm not the one that has to deal with it, you know, you do you. I have had a pregnant woman come back and cry at me. It was a nice drawing. She was just upset about it. And one lady who angrily threw it away in my face. And nobody ever wanted to hurt me. So I don't know how to deal with that. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think you just don't. Like, you say, I'm sorry, or I don't know if you like your return policy is like, they can return it. Usually, you know, you don't. I usually give people an out before they buy it. Like, you know, if you hate it, you can just walk away and then they can just leave. And that's it. And that's not everybody's policy, and that's fine. But I found that makes it easier for me, is like, hey, if you don't like it, that's great. I don't want you to take anything that you hate and, you know, rip it up and hurt my feelings too, you know? So like, it's fine. Just walk it away. I'm making a example on the wall and it's mine now. So have a nice day. There's other artists. You can choose them, or, you know, just go away. Just go away. That's how I deal with it. The out I learned was very important to me. When it came to like, especially if I'm trying to push it and I'm like, all right, that's fair.
Anybody else got anything? All right, well, let's hear it for Allie again. Thank you very much, Allie.